Imagine waking up at 2:30 in the morning, every morning, not because you're a baker or a stock trader watching the Asian markets. No. You wake up at 2:30 a.m. because, for a few precious hours, it's the only time you can be sure that nobody is actively trying to kill you. This is the life of Nicola Gratteri. He's an Italian prosecutor, and for nearly 4 decades, he's been a ghost in his own life. He hasn't set foot in a restaurant or a movie theatre in almost 30 years. He can't take a walk in his own neighbourhood. When he sees his wife, it's at a secure, undisclosed location, a safe house. He sees his 2 sons for about 30 minutes every 2 months. His life is a fortress of armoured cars, armed guards, and constant vigilance. And for good reason. He survived 3 separate assassination attempts in the span of just 3 weeks. Intelligence once uncovered a plot to blow up his motorcade with a car bomb packed with plastic explosives. Another time, they found an RPG, a rocket-propelled grenade, that was destined for his car. So who is this man? And more importantly, who is the enemy that has forced him to live this way? Well, while the world was watching movies like The Godfather and becoming obsessed with the Sicilian Mafia, the Cosa Nostra, another far more dangerous organisation was quietly growing in the shadows. They eclipsed the Sicilians in power, in wealth, and in global reach. They are the Ndrangheta. The name comes from an ancient Greek word, one that means heroism and virtue. It's a chilling irony, because this organisation is anything but virtuous. Today, the Ndrangheta controls an estimated 80% of Europe's cocaine supply. Their annual revenue is pegged at around $60 billion. That's not a typo. 60 billion. That's more than the entire gross domestic product of countries like Croatia or Uruguay. They operate in over 40 nations, on every single continent. And the most terrifying part? For decades, you probably never even heard their name. Their invisibility isn't an accident. It's a design feature. And Nicola Gratteri is the man who has dedicated his entire life to dragging them, kicking and screaming, into the light. The story of the Ndrangheta begins in the rugged, impoverished mountains of Calabria, the toe of Italy's boot. It was born in the late 19th century, in a power vacuum where the state was absent, and justice was something you made for yourself. But unlike the Sicilian Mafia, which operated like a twisted corporation with franchises and business associates, the Ndrangheta built its entire empire on one thing: blood. The basic unit of the organisation is called an Ndrina. It's a clan, a family. Membership isn't something you apply for, it's something you're born into. Initiation starts in childhood. Sons are groomed to follow their fathers, uncles and grandfathers into the family business. They're known as a giovane d'onore, a youth of honour. This blood-based structure is their greatest strength. It makes the code of silence, the omerta, almost unbreakable. Think about it. Betraying the organisation isn't just treason against a criminal enterprise. It's betraying your own father, your brother, your cousin. As one observer put it, betrayal is not just treason, it is patricide. This decentralised web of families, all interconnected but operating independently, makes them damn near impossible to dismantle. You can't just cut the head off the snake, because there are 100 heads. For decades, their operations were local. Extortion, controlling construction projects, meddling in local politics. But in the 1980s, they saw an opportunity that would change everything: cocaine. While the Sicilian Mafia was getting all the headlines, the Ndrangheta quietly positioned themselves as the primary middlemen for the Colombian cartels in Europe. They built direct relationships, bypassing the Sicilians entirely, and soon they controlled the main gateway for cocaine into the continent, the massive port of Gioia Tauro, right in their Calabrian backyard. It's estimated that 80% of all cocaine entering Europe still passes through that port. They used the astronomical profits to launder their money, infiltrating legitimate businesses all over the world. Restaurants in Germany, hotels in Belgium, car washes in Australia, construction companies in Canada. By the 2000s, they had completely surpassed the Cosa Nostra in both power and profit. Yet the US government didn't even formally blacklist them as a major criminal organisation until 2008. The world, for the most part, remained blissfully unaware until August 15, 2007. That was the night of the Duisburg massacre. In the quiet German industrial city of Duisburg, Outside a pizzeria named Da Bruno, 6 Italian men were gunned down, their bodies riddled with bullets in their cars. It was a professional, brutal execution. German police were baffled, but when they found a small, partially burned holy image on one of the victims, a classic Ndrangheta calling card, they knew this wasn't a local crime. A bloody feud between 2 Calabrian clans had spilled onto the streets of Germany. The world finally looked up, and when they asked, "Who are these people?" it was Nicola Gratteri who was called upon to explain the invisible empire to a shocked and unprepared world. To understand the man who hunts the Ndrangheta, you have to understand where he came from. He was born in 1958 in Duras, a small poor town in Calabria, the heart of Ndrangheta territory. His parents were what Italians call per bene, respectable, decent people. They weren't wealthy, but they instilled in him an unshakable sense of right and wrong. And he grew up surrounded by the very people he would one day prosecute. He said it himself. "I hitchhiked to school. I often saw dead bodies on the road." Imagine that being your normal. He played football in the streets with boys who would grow up to be mob bosses and international drug traffickers. This wasn't an academic study for him. It was his childhood. It gave him an intimate, almost anthropological understanding of their mindset, their criminal philosophy, as he calls it. But there was a moment, a defining moment. A close school friend's father was murdered, and later the friend himself was killed. Something clicked inside the young Nicola. He decided, then and there, "I thought when I grow up I want to do something so that this will not happen again." He didn't pick up a gun. He picked up law books. He joined the Italian judiciary in 1986 and quickly got himself assigned to prosecution in Locri, a notorious Ndrangheta stronghold in Calabria. He wasn't naive. He knew exactly what he was getting into. His very first investigations targeted the deep, rotten ties between the mafia, local politicians, secret societies like the Freemasons, and the global trade in drugs and weapons. He was kicking the hornet's nest with steel-toed boots. The hornets, of course, kicked back. In 1989, a shot was fired at the home of his fiancée. A warning. It was followed by a more direct threat. "Do not marry Gratteri because you will marry a dead man." He married her anyway, and in April of 1989 he was placed under permanent armed guard. He has not known a single day of freedom since. The threats only escalated. In 1993 he survived those 3 assassination plots in 3 weeks. In 2005, the discovery of the explosives and the RPG meant for his motorcade. Through it all, he just kept going to work. He has this unnerving calm. During an interrogation in Washington, D.C., he was questioning a captured Colombian drug lord, Salvatore Mancuso. Mancuso revealed that he had actually been tracking Gratteri on a recent trip to Bogotá, Colombia. He told Gratteri he considered him crazy enough to investigate me. Gratteri later recounted this story to a journalist with, and I quote, "no particular emotion." It was just another Tuesday for him. So what makes Nicola Gratteri so effective? What makes him so feared by the Ndrangheta? It's that unique insight he gained as a child. A colleague once said of him, "He grew up with them. He thinks the way they think. He knows their logic, their culture, their mythology. He doesn't just see them as criminals, he sees them as a society, a culture. And he uses that understanding to dismantle them from the inside out." His investigations in the 1990s were groundbreaking because they didn't just target the gunmen and the drug dealers. They exposed the Ndrangheta's real power, its infiltration of legitimate society. He showed how they had their claws in local government, in business, in the legal profession, even in national political parties. He even co-authored a book detailing the deep historical entanglement between the Ndrangheta and the Catholic Church in Calabria. The book was so influential that in 2014 Pope Francis made a historic declaration saying, "The mafia is excommunicated." A powerful statement. The Ndrangheta's response? The book notes it was approximately nothing. They are an institution unto themselves. But his life's work would culminate in an operation of almost unimaginable scale. In 2016, he was appointed chief prosecutor of Catanzaro, Calabria's capital. From there, he launched Operation Rinascita Scott, or Rebirth Scott. It was one of the largest police operations in Italian history. It involved 2,500 police officers. It resulted in charges against 335 individuals, with 913 witnesses prepared to testify. And look at who was charged. It wasn't just mobsters. It was businessmen, lawyers, accountants, a police chief, a former member of the Italian Parliament, and the president of the Regional Association of Mayors. This single operation was the ultimate validation of what Gratteri had been screaming for decades. The Ndrangheta is not some external cancer on Italian society. It is embedded. It is part of the system. The trial itself, which began in January 2021, was so massive, it had to be held in a specially converted call centre. 355 defendants, over 900 prosecution witnesses. It was the largest anti-mafia trial in Italy in over 30 years. It put the Ndrangheta on the global map in a way nothing had before. Today, the FBI calls the Ndrangheta one of our top priorities, and openly states that they rely on people like Gratteri to face it. So you have to ask the question, why? Why does he do it? Why live a life that isn't really a life? To wake up every day knowing a powerful, global organisation with billions of dollars at its disposal wants you dead. To sacrifice your family, your freedom, your peace of mind. Gratteri's answer isn't some heroic cliché. It's not about vengeance or glory. It's profoundly philosophical. He says quite simply that in his mind, he is free. I am a free man, he says. Free in my choices and free to decide. Free to think and speak. What does he mean by that? Well, the Ndrangheta's power doesn't just come from violence. It comes from leverage, from corruption. They offer a favour, a loan, a political connection. And once you take it, you're compromised. You owe them. You're inside the machine. You can no longer speak freely or act freely because they own a piece of you. They can use blackmail to control you. Gratteri has spent his entire life refusing to compromise. He accepts no favours. He has no hidden debts. Therefore, nobody has any leverage over him. He can say what he thinks and do what he believes is right, without fear of being exposed or controlled. It's a stunning paradox. The man who physically lives in a prison of his own making, growing vegetables in a small garden, making jam, reading books, working in the dead of night, he considers himself freer than the politicians, the businessmen, the so-called powerful people who walk the streets without a care in the world, but who are secretly puppets of the Ndrangheta. This isn't bravado. It's a serious philosophical position. The idea that the man surrounded by armed guards, the man who can't even go for a coffee, is actually the freest person in the room. But for all his victories, for all his unwavering resolve, Nicola Gratteri is a realist. He is brutally, refreshingly honest. When asked about the larger war against the Ndrangheta, he openly admits they are losing. He says, no matter how many investigations we carry on in the world, we recover less than 10% of the cocaine that arrives in Europe. Think about that. For every $10 the Ndrangheta makes from its primary product, global law enforcement manages to interdict just $1. Their deep institutional penetration, their army of corrupt officials, lawyers and bankers, ensures that the vast majority of their profits flow untouched. And their structure makes them uniquely resilient. Gratteri describes them as strong, clever, determined people. Secrecy is their motto. But crucially, he notes, they lack a single godfather that leads everyone. There is no Pablo Escobar, no El Chapo, no Toto Rina. This means no single arrest, no matter how high level, can truly threaten the existence of the organisation. Their decentralised clan-based structure makes them impossible to decapitate. You take down the head of one Ndrangheta, and his son or brother or nephew, who has been training for this his entire life, simply steps up to take his place. As Gratteri puts it, you can arrest 100 people and another 100 are ready because they were born ready. He knows all of this. He has known it for decades. And yet, he keeps going anyway. He keeps waking up at 2:30 a.m. He keeps poring over documents. He keeps building cases. Because he understands that the alternative, a world where the Ndrangheta operates with total impunity, where their infiltration of our governments and our economies goes completely unchallenged, is far, far worse. He once reflected on his country's struggle with organised crime, saying, "Italy is unable to admit it, forgetting that the mafia is part of who we are." Nicola Gratteri is not some mythic, untouchable hero. He's just a man who, as a child, saw dead bodies on the side of the road and decided that someone should push back. And he never stopped. Today, the Ndrangheta is stronger than ever. They are active and embedded in Germany, Belgium, Australia, Canada. The FBI confirms they have a significant presence in New York City, which serves as a training ground for new recruits and a major hub for cocaine distribution. They own legitimate businesses all around you. Restaurants, hotels, car washes, construction companies. Their money is everywhere, and most of the time, it looks completely clean. And Nicola Gratteri, at 66 years old, he is still at work, still under armed guard, still waking up at 2:30 in the morning. He now runs the largest prosecutor's office in Italy, from Naples. The Ndrangheta has spent decades and millions of euros trying to kill him. But he is still there. Most of the kids he played football with back in Garras are now either dead or in prison, consumed by the very organisation he has fought his entire life. Nicola Gratteri chose differently. He is still honouring that simple, powerful vow he made as a boy when he saw what organised crime did to his friends. I thought, when I grow up, I want to do something so that this will not happen again. He is 66 years old. He is still doing it. For the Underground Files, I'm Orion Vale. If this episode hit, share it with somebody who should know this story. Subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a rating if you are feeling generous. 5 stars helps more people find the files. New episodes dropping every week. Stay skeptical, stay curious, and we will see you in the next file.